There are many sad stories about Galapagos tortoises. But today we're telling a different story. It isn't about extinction. It isn't about the last lonesome individual of a lost species. This is a story about nature journaling and hope. Dear Marley, you said on the Nature Journal show that nature journaling was more than just a hobby. You said that you believed that nature journaling could be used to help the world's vanishing biodiversity. We are writing you from Santa Cruz Island in the Galapagos to let you know we don't want to end up like Lonesome George. We are a critically endangered species of giant tortoise. We have lived in the Galapagos for millions of years, but in the last 100 years, more than 90% of our friends and family have died, and there are fewer of us than ever. Will you come nature journal us and make a video about it? Maybe your nature journal pages can help bring awareness to our situation. At the very least, your pages will be a unique record of us in case we do go extinct. No one nature journaled the dodo. Sincerely, Chelanoides niger porteri. Let's go! But nature journaling this species in the wild might not be what you were expecting. They live on Santa Cruz Island, the most populated of all of the Galapagos Islands, and they have become a huge tourist attraction. Many people go to Galapagos specifically to take photos and selfies with the giant tortoises. Even though you're no longer allowed to ride on their backs, sometimes it feels a little bit like Disneyland. One of the best places to see this species of Galapagos tortoises in the wild is at this Las Primicias ranch. It used to be a cattle ranch, but now it caters to tourists who come from all over Ecuador and the world to see Galapagos tortoises. Even before I got to the ranch, there were already tortoises walking across the road. Technically, you're supposed to have a guide with you from Galapagos at all times when you're here, but they said I could walk around close to the building. So I'm going to start nature journaling where they have all the skeletons and shells. This time, no shame tourist moment. I'm going to climb in the shell before I start drawing them. These are tricky shapes to draw, but I thought it would be really cool to try to capture some of the information contained within them. They also had a wild pig skull from an animal they shot last year. Wild pigs are rampant still in many parts of Galapagos. They eat the eggs, babies, and disturb the habitat. In addition to wild pigs, cats and fire ants are one of the causes of death for this species. Now that I got some details, it's time to capture the big picture. And you know what that means for me is a landscapeito. I love doing these small watercolor landscapes to capture the context, the big picture, and the feeling of a place. Maybe it was because of my lucky Lonesome George socks, but I got to witness something really cool that I've never seen before. A Galapagos tortoise drinking water. This is one of the things that Charles Darwin apparently observed and wrote about, and so I started sketching the animal and pretty soon realized that this was not only a great opportunity to do some sketches, but to do some observations and measurements. I used my phone stopwatch feature to measure how long the turtle would hold its head underwater for to drink, which was super cool and a very cool and unique learning experience. During the over 30 minutes that I watched this one tortoise, it stuck its head in the water over 6 times, sometimes for as long as 2 minutes underwater. I had a lot of questions to ask about this behavior. So, obviously, I created a space on my page to write down as many questions as I could generate, starting with how much water can it drink at once? What are the sounds that it makes? Why does it stop in between drinks? Sometimes we assume certain things, but asking them as a question is so much better, such as, Is it really drinking? What are the sounds coming from? Do they need gravity? Where does the water go? How often do they drink? And all kinds of questions like that. If you're not including questions in your nature journal pages, you're missing out on a lot. I also feel like question asking has a lot of conservation potential. If we could get more people asking more questions about the world around them, I think that we would do much better as stewards of nature, and endangered species like this might have a fighting chance if we help train the next generation to think critically and ask questions. A few minutes later, I saw this tortoise feeding, and it looked like an opportunity I couldn't pass up. This was my chance to get as close as possible within the legal limit of 2 meters without disturbing the animal, obviously, and get some really good sketches. I stayed well with outside of the 2 meters, but this was super fun and my last chance to sketch this amazing species. As I spend these moments sketching, I start to wonder what would happen if all the people that came to visit the tortoises sketched them or nature journaled them instead of just taking photos and buying souvenirs at the store. Would that change people's mentality? Does going and visiting and taking photos of an endangered species help protect it? What other ways could we form a connection of caring and responsibility for people? Galapagos tortoises are no longer exploited en masse to feed people. However, the exploitation of them continues. Sailors and pirates and scientists are no longer killing and taking tortoises with them, but people who come to the Galapagos still want to take something away when they leave. Even the taxi drivers all have these wooden statues of Galapagos tortoises on their dashboard. Tortoise bodies are no longer being sold to fuel the Galapagos economy, but the idea of tortoises are still being sold, and they're used to sell beer, coffee, even the local governments use them as part of their symbolism. Is protecting something because you can make money off of it the basis for a strong conservation ethic? What would happen if it were no longer profitable to sell all of these trinkets and tourism based on giant tortoises? What would happen to conservation and protection then? Is nature journaling and sketching endangered species just another way of exploiting the image of these animals? As you can see, I have a lot more questions than answers. However, I remain hopeful that nature journaling has a role to play in helping raise awareness about the world's vanishing biodiversity, and I'm doing everything in my power to help use nature journaling in those more applied ways and spread nature journaling to more people where it counts, because I do believe that nature journaling is much more than an art hobby, and it is our responsibility to use it to document these amazing species before they're lost forever. Patreon members got to see this episode early, and they also support my mission to make the world a better place through nature journaling. Learn more by clicking this link here.